Hello FlossTube and welcome to the 4th day of Christmas for Calling Birds. I don't know whether you're enjoying those little cartoony bits at the beginning of each episode. I have been having a lot of fun putting those together. I use an app called Flipperclip on my iPad. It's a free app. I'm a beginner. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I am having a lot of fun drawing those and working out how to fit in. I'm slightly, so I've drawn as far as 9 ladies dancing. I'm not really sure how I'm going to get 12 drummers drumming in there, but that is tomorrow's problem. Anyway, I hope you had a nice day. I hope you're having a nice, relaxing few days in this sort of between season, between Christmas and New Year. There's a wonderful comedian in the UK called Dave Gorman who used to do a series called Modern Life is Goodish. And in it, was it Modern Life is Goodish or was it Genius? I can't remember, but anyway, one of the ideas he had, which I just thought was genuinely brilliant. So obviously, one of the problems with the calendar that we exist with is that the months are all different lengths, and the way the year works, it's not an even number of weeks in a year. It's 52 and a bit. So different things fall on different days of the week every year. It's all very complicated. And he was like, what if we just said all months are 4 weeks long? So instead of having 12, we'd have 13. That would give us 52 weeks. And if you have 52 complete weeks, what does that take you to? 364. So then you've just got 1 extra day, or in a leap year, 2 extra days. And he was like, what if we just have those as like 3 days between the end of one year and the beginning of the next year? And, you know, we could call it Winterval, and it would be just 2 bonus days at this time of the year when we all don't really know what day of the week it is anyway. And so then you could have New Year's Day could always be on a Monday, or whatever day we decided was the best day for it. And then, you know, your birthday would always be the same day of the week every year. Your wedding anniversary be the same day of the week every year. I think it's genuinely brilliant. And like when the French Revolution were reading the calendar, I don't know why they didn't just go with that. Maybe they did. I don't really know. No, I think they had a decimal calendar, didn't they? They had 10 months, I think. I am not an expert on the French Revolution. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about, so that's fine. So today I had a finish, and I'm going to show you the finish, even though that goes against all FlossTube rules, because it is a finish of a design that I have not yet released. But I'm so delighted to have finished this. Those of you who join me for the live on Sunday, and I also talked about this in a recent FlossTube video as well, know that I've had a pattern where I've been really struggling to get the right combination of colours, and it only has 4 colours, and I had 3 that I was really pleased with, and then trying to get the 4th to fit with those and with the fabric, and it was all quite hard work. Anyway, I am going to show you that, but then I just thought, well, actually, what I'd really like to talk to you about today, because it has been a big deal for me, 2023, one of the biggest things is that I've started selling cross-stitch designs. I started thinking about this in maybe May or June sort of time, and the first thing, I'll tell you where the inspiration came from, actually. It came from a video where Marumi Crafts, so Mariam, oh, I'm going to get that wrong now. Anyway, Marumi Crafts is her Instagram, YouTube designer handle. She was talking about how, I mean, her designs are fabulous. So she's Iranian, and she does designs based on her Persian heritage, and they're really fun. They're sort of cross-stitch designs. She's got this whole sort of animal series taken from motifs that you traditionally find in Persian carpets, but other things as well that she's done. I think there's one that's like maybe a goddess. Anyway, and she's talking about sort of cultural appropriation, and I was thinking about this, and I was like, well, what would be my cultural background? As far as I know, I'm English all the way back. I mean, I'm probably not completely, but basically that is my cultural heritage. And a lot of what feels like my cultural heritage is appropriation because of colonialism. And so that's quite tricky. And, you know, so a lot of contemporary British culture, and particularly I think if you're English, you know, where there's less of a clear identity than if you're Scottish or Welsh or Irish, it's hard to feel that you really own that. Anyway, so I was thinking about, well, even if it's not, you know, Britain's always had trade routes with Europeans and through that to other continents and other places. But nonetheless, we're very much part of Western European culture. And so then I was thinking about medieval culture, and particularly medieval illuminated manuscripts. Now, these are things which obviously you find certainly all around Western Europe, versions of medieval illuminated manuscripts in other sort of Mediterranean countries, I think. I want to say sort of North Africa and what we now call the Middle East or the Near East. So, you know, it's not necessarily uniquely English, but nonetheless, brilliant. I am not a medieval scholar, but in the course of my studies, I have had some occasion to look at medieval manuscripts, mostly just for interest rather than actually studying. And there is just some brilliant things there. And so that's where my designs started. So this was actually the first thing that I designed. It wasn't quite the first thing that I released, but it was the first thing that I designed. And it was the cat snails pattern based on these 3 different versions of cats with snail shells from medieval manuscripts. Putting snail shells on things was a pretty common thing in those illuminations. So you would get all kinds of animals, even human beings, that would have these sort of shells on them. So it wasn't that they thought this was an animal. It was a way of conveying something. Yeah. Anyway, I like to call mine. See if I can work it out. This is nice but dim. This one is grumpy. I can't remember what I called this one. Anyway, so that was my cat snails pattern. And as I was researching for that, there are so many really great medieval illuminations. So then I also was like, I want to do an elephant's pattern. So this one came out quite recently and I really, really love this. I love the colours on this. I love the different interpretations of these elephants. So mostly I think these were illustrations drawn by people who had heard about but not seen elephants. And they're just brilliant. I just love them. All of these are my interpretations of this. So they're not direct copies of the medieval manuscripts, particularly in terms of the sort of internal patterns. I've interpreted those pretty freely. And like this one, there's a whole sort of city on the back of an elephant. Well, I found that quite hard to chart. So I've just given an impression of that with my towers on the back of that elephant. I really love the elephants. I love the cat sounds. I really love the elephants. There is going to be, well, I'm going to talk in a minute about what's coming up soon, but there is a third one in that series that I need to start work on. So the next thing that I worked on were my Christmas designs. So I started with these 2. Let's get that hanger out of the way. Joy to the World, Peace on the Earth. And both of these are available with the other colourway. So this is what I've called the vintage colourway, and this is what I've called the contemporary colourway or the modern colourway. But both designs are charted for both colourways. And they're nice. And this is the first time I'd sort of done ornament finishing quite like this. And I was quite pleased with how that worked out. I enjoyed experimenting with the different, people always call these fonts. And I think technically, unless you're actually printing, they're not fonts. So I'm just going to call them lettering styles, and how to get that image in there and so on. So there were those, and out of those came a series of little smalls, which I haven't got. There are 2 that I did that were really small, that were really designed as card toppers, but I also did this one, which is not precisely the Peace and Joy from these. It's an adaptation of them with the lettering sort of thickened up a bit. and then rearranged together. And I did mine on perforated paper and a felt backing and so on. And I really enjoyed doing that actually, so I might do more like that. So they were available in various formats, individual PDFs for these, a Christmas bundle which included this and the small ones, and then also the Christmas cards, actual physical cards, which I haven't got one near enough to show you, but they have the chart for this, but also you can send it as a card. Those are available, I mean all of them are available in my Etsy shop. The Christmas cards are currently half price. I also did this little design. This was a freebie that was available to the Stitch in London participants. And because it was Stitch in London, I started to think about, well, what would be really English and British and Londonish? And I think about various things. And I thought, well, actually, what about stitching a Union Jack? It's a really distinctive shape, really recognisable. And that means I think that you can play around with it. And so on this one, I put some needles and some scissors and pins and some cross stitches and some hoops. Really fun. And even though it's got those patterns built into it and the words on it, really distinctive as a Union flag. So I started to think about more flag designs. And this is the thing, obviously, that I released most recently. Yesterday I put up on my channel a finishing tutorial to show how I made it into this little flag. I did not show in the tutorial where I dropped it on the paint that I'd used for the flagpole. Anyway, yeah, I don't think it's the best tutorial video in the world. I've got another tutorial coming up in a few days' time, which I hope is a bit better. It's quite hard filming tutorials, it turns out. But anyway, this is a very simple finish. But I think it's really effective, and I can imagine, you know, if you're the sort of person that has displays of small cross-stitch finishes, you know, in a bowl or on a mantelpiece or something like that, something like this, which you can use to add some height, because I also did a little stand for it. I didn't do anything on the bottom of this, so if I just hold it like this, it falls down. But, you know, you can cut, obviously, your flagpole to whatever height you want it to be. So those, I think, I'm pretty sure that's right. Those are all the ones that are released. But I was going to talk to you a little bit about what's coming. So there's another medieval one coming based on illustrations of sea creatures, which are hilarious. So I'm definitely doing that. I've got a series of 4, well, this is part of a series of 4. So there are 3 more of these Union Jack designs. So this is winter, and there's spring, summer and autumn. They are all charted up, and I just want to stitch them up. And I plan to show different kinds of finishes that you could use for all 4 of those. So yeah, I'm going to try and do another finishing tutorial for spring before too long. So those are coming up. Then there is the one that I finished today, and I'm pretty excited about it. If you were at my live on Sunday, I did show a little flash of this, but I am now going to show you the whole finished thing. All good in the spinster hood. I'm so proud of this. I absolutely love it. I love the sort of geometric designs inside the tree shapes. At the bottom, this is a little sort of flower pattern, and then the sort of stylized clouds with the sun, and then you've got your spinster sitting in the middle spinning with her bookshelf, her cat, her teapot, and her mug of tea. All good in the spinster hood. I've got a t-shirt which says this phrase, and I got it and I was just like, I think that's brilliant. You know, there is nothing wrong with being a single lady. Absolutely nothing. You get to do what you want. You don't have to share your bed with anyone. You don't have to share your remote control with anyone. If you want peace and quiet while you're spinning, you absolutely can. I don't have a cat. I don't really like cats. So this is not absolutely modelled on me. I do have a spinning wheel. I have many bookshelves and quite a significant number of teapots and mugs. So that is now finished. I'm really happy with how it's finally come together. I was really struggling to find a yellow that worked, but I think I'm pretty happy with that and how that's come out. So the chart is done. I need to check against the chart for any mistakes, but I think it's all correct. So then I just need to put it together into a full pattern and get that up for sale quite soon, I hope. The other thing which will be coming up very soon, and I haven't got it with me to show you, is Carmen. So Carmen is the first pattern that I did that I made available, but it wasn't my design and it wasn't for sale. It was a reproduction of a not quite finished. I don't even want to say unfinished. It was really, really nearly finished. So not quite finished sampler. That if you were watching a year or so ago, you'll know I was releasing in parts on my blog. My blog is currently down and I'm not sure if I'm going to revive it. It was a website that I was paying for and I'm just like, I'm not absolutely sure I need that particular website right now. But I do have a plan. So obviously that is all charted, and it's not just charted with the reproduction. It's also charted with some alternative options because it included some specialty stitching and also some over one stitching. And if you didn't want to do those, that's fine, but it then meant you got two identical alphabets because you were doing them both in cross stitch. So then I thought, well, no one's going to want to do that. So if you don't want to do the specialty stitching, what else could you do? And so I've charted something that you could do there. And obviously also not everyone wants to do the over one stitching. And so I've charted some alternatives that you could do for that section as well. So it's not just the reproduction, but it is reproduction, and that will be coming out shortly. Mine came out at 12 by 12, but I cannot now remember what fabric I used for that. Might have been 32, 36, something like that. So it's pretty much a square sampler. It's pretty much all alphabets with some border patterns and some options in it. So I do plan in the next few days, because well, yeah, I've got a few days off work this week. So that's one of my plans, is to get Carmen up for sale, to work on getting Spinsterhood ready-ish. I have got plans later in the year to do others in what in my head is called the Fierce Women series. So I'd really like to do one based around Nora Ephron's quote, always be, above all, be the heroine of your own life. I might do one based on just all the single ladies. Don't know. I've also got 3 Christmas charts charted, one of which I have stitched. The other 2 I haven't yet stitched. There's a 4th one that I have sort of got mulling over in my head, but I'm not sure. And I'd ideally like to have those available by, well, in time for people who are doing Christmas in July. So maybe have those released in sort of May or June kind of time. So that's where I'm at. There's the medieval one. Well, so there's Spinsterhood and Carmen that are charted and stitched and just need working on. There is the medieval one that needs finishing, charting and stitching. There's a couple of Christmas charts that need stitching and they all need making up into patterns. There's the rest of the Union Jack series, which, like I say, they're charted, but they'll need stitching up and I'm going to do finishing tutorials for them. So there's quite a lot that's like already planned, and I don't really want to plan anymore because I want to have time to have new ideas. I've got on my software that I use for charting, I use very cheap software for charting, but I find that it is absolutely everything I need. It's called Stitch Sketch, and I paid $1.99 for it. It's an iPad app. It will export a PDF chart that you can either have in colour or just with symbols or with both. Anyway, just looking down my list of things that are there but not yet got any further. There's nothing. Oh yeah, I also did I've got a couple of Easter charts, possibly. I'm slightly struggling with those, so I don't know whether they will get finished or done in time for Easter or ever. There's the fairy tale chart, which I just stitched for me. It wasn't really a design to share with others, and it would need some work on it to make it suitable for... I used about 450 different colours on it because I just picked up whatever I felt like. But I think there is potential to simplify that a little bit and make it easier for people to stitch. So yeah, and then there's a handful of other little things. I've got a little mini circular sampler series that may or may not go somewhere. So yeah, there's lots of stuff that's already sort of in the works, but not yet reached the top of the list for finishing. So stick around, who knows? Right, so just before I go, today's 12 Days of Generosity idea. Since I've been talking about my designs, I want to talk about supporting designers, and in particular, and I know we've all been doing it, but I just, as a reminder, we're going into a new year where Ukraine is still being invaded by Russia. So if you're thinking about where can you know, where might you look for new designs to stitch in 2023, I want to say, have a look at the Ukrainian designers that are out there. Stitchy Princess, I'm sure everybody knows. The Coast Primitives, I bought that lovely windowsill orchids pattern from there. There's another shop that I've definitely bought from where I got a little kit, and I can't remember the name of that. I will put links in the description bar below. But also what I want to say is, if you're watching this and you have purchased from a Ukrainian shop or a Ukrainian designer this year that you would recommend, please leave a link in the comments, and let's support designers generally, but particularly those who are depending on money from foreign customers so that they can buy the most basic food and water to survive. Anyway, on that note, all suddenly a bit gloomy, I will see you tomorrow.